The glittering prospect of a long weekend in Aspen with my girlfriends was all I could think about, a vision made even sweeter by the healthy balance on my Platinum Amex card that whispered of freedom and indulgence. Yet, a shadow lingered. Marcus, my husband. His recent behavior was more than unsettling. That late-night call, supposedly on his way home from a work thing, had the distinct, furtive cadence of a hushed conversation with his sister, Clarissa. His jumpiness around our Chicago condo only fanned the flames of my suspicion. Was this all some elaborate ruse? My unease solidified into a cold certainty. Marcus and Clarissa were definitely cooking something up. I braced myself. Perhaps I should have feigned shock when Marcus finally mumbled his excuses, but the truth was, I'd already pieced together his plan to jet off today. The sheer audacity of it was almost comical. Did he honestly believe I was that oblivious? I wished, not for the first time, that Marcus would exercise a modicum of caution. My well of patience, deep from years of tolerating his peculiarities, had finally run dry. A thirst for retribution, meticulously planned, simmered within me. It was time to remind Marcus and his insufferable sister that I wasn't just a passive spectator in their little drama. After countless days of biting my tongue, I was certain that by day's end, the scales would dramatically tip. Let them savor their clandestine getaway. They had no inkling that another player, masked and ready, was about to rewrite the rules of their game. My name is Eleanor Vance, though most call me Ellie. I'm 36. Marcus and I share a spacious condo in Lincoln Park, a testament to years of what I once believed was a partnership. My journey began right after college, a whirlwind plunge into the corporate world at Apex Innovations Incorporated, driven by a hunger to build something real. With grit, glowing recommendations, and a string of certifications, I climbed. By 23, I was a director, the youngest in Apex's history to hold such a role. It was a significant milestone, fueling my quiet ambition to one day run a whole division. Apex was a revolving door of new talent, and one day, Marcus Thorne walked in. Older, yes, but junior to me in the hierarchy. My role included onboarding him and a few other recruits. That's how our orbits began to intersect. Marcus was vocal in his admiration for my career trajectory, his attentiveness growing more pronounced. I was wary at first, but his persistence, his charm. I eventually succumbed. I started noticing Marcus's more careless traits, things I'd initially overlooked. They irked me. Then, strangely, I reinterpreted them as him letting his guard down, trusting me with his unvarnished self. I convinced myself these imperfections made him more human, more real. I consciously chose to ignore the little red flags. When Marcus proposed, my yes was swift. During our future planning talks, he was disarmingly frank. I'd love for you to be a stay-at-home wife, Ellie, he'd said, as if bestowing upon me a coveted prize. He'd be the provider, I the homemaker, his ideal of domestic bliss. His vision was rigid, wedding, then a house, then children. I nodded, agreeing his sequence was logical, even as a knot of apprehension tightened in my stomach. Marcus, that sounds lovely, I began, choosing my words with care, but we need to be pragmatic about finances, especially our savings. And I have no intention of quitting my job, even with kids. We can adjust schedules, share responsibilities. He listened, but I saw the flicker of resentment. My higher salary was a sensitive point. His dream of homeownership was urgent, hinting he hadn't fully grasped the financial realities. I gently suggested buying a house immediately after the wedding might be a stretch. Let's focus on the wedding, and the house can come a bit later. Plus, we need to figure out our finances if I'm still working. He sighed but conceded. Disappointment shadowed his eyes, but he knew my income was crucial to his grand plans. My insistence wasn't just financial. I wasn't abandoning my career. I sensed that yielding too easily would set a precedent for him to steamroll my ambitions. During our engagement, we hosted a small party for our families. Clarissa, Marcus's sister, was unavoidably detained, but made her grand entrance at our wedding. That moment is seared into my memory. She breezed into the bridal suite unannounced. Surveying me with a smirk, she declared, "Well, this is Marcus's choice." A little less polished than his last one, but I suppose she'll do. Her audacity was breathtaking. "I'm Ellie. Nice to meet you," I managed, a tight smile masking my fury. "Oh, right. Clarissa. Your new sister-in-law." Brutal honesty is a family trait, she tossed over her shoulder, exiting without a goodbye. That first impression was a sour one. She was, clearly, high maintenance. Her husband, Liam, whom I met later, was, thankfully, a far more grounded and reasonable individual. His calm demeanor was a welcome contrast. The wedding was beautiful, executed flawlessly. Marcus and I eventually bought the Lincoln Park condo we both adored. But from the moment we moved in, life accelerated. I poured myself into Apex, determined not to miss any advancement. One Saturday, absorbed in spreadsheets, an unexpected buzz came from the intercom. I asked Marcus to get it, assuming it was a delivery. Soon, I'd heard a familiar, trilling laugh. Clarissa. She dropped by unannounced. "Ellie, darling. Look at Marcus. What a fabulous place he's got." "He's done so well for himself," Clarissa cooed, settling onto our custom Roche-Beaubois sofa as if she owned it. The subtle dig wasn't lost on me, but I held my peace. "He's my little brother, after all," she added, beaming as she surveyed the panoramic city views. I, meanwhile, was silently calculating the sheer number of late nights and killer presentations that had made this condo ours. But Marcus just basked in her misplaced admiration, acting as though he'd single-handedly financed it. Clarissa was clearly under a false impression, one Marcus was in no hurry to correct. His silence pricked at my sense of fairness. This home was a joint effort. I'd contributed the lion's share of the down payment, $150,000 of my own pre-marriage savings, and continued to pay more than half the hefty mortgage, even though Marcus had insisted only his name be on the deed. "We're family, Ellie. What's the big deal?" he'd said. I'd relented, valuing harmony over paperwork. Now, watching him preen, resentment churned. I decided against a confrontation, offering them refreshments instead. "Here are some nibbles," I said, forcing a lightness into my tone. "Marcus has been working hard, I added, trying to subtly reframe the narrative. But Clarissa, sensing an undercurrent, smirked. "Why does Ellie sound so authoritative, like she's the boss or something?" she drawled. A wave of awkwardness hit me, but I recovered. "Well, actually, at Apex, I am Marcus's boss," I stated calmly, knowing this would be a revelation. "Oh, Marcus didn't tell you?" I added, a small smile playing on my lips. When I joined Apex, Ellie was already a director, Marcus admitted reluctantly, squirming under his sister's sharp gaze. "It just so happened she started right out of college, Clarissa," I added thoughtfully. Wait. You rocketed up the ladder looking so polished, yet you're still, well, let's just say I've seen people with more prestigious pedigrees take longer," she remarked, her tone laced with a condescending sweetness designed to provoke. "Is there an issue with my career trajectory?" I replied, keeping my voice even. "Not an issue, per se," Clarissa purred, "but, Ellie, since you're doing so well and I'm your sister-in-law, technically family, that means I can ask you for pretty much anything, right? Kind of how it works." Her gaze was brazen, her words an open power play. To my utter shock, Marcus nodded. "Ellie, whatever my sister wants, she should get. If you refuse, well, this is my name on the deed," he said, a seriousness that was frankly absurd. I was floored. How did my success and her familial connection entitle her to make demands, let alone imply I could be ousted from our home? The situation was so ludicrous, I almost laughed. I managed a polite smile, biting back a scathing retort, and retreated to the kitchen. I needed to process. From the kitchen, I could hear their muffled, but clearly serious, conversation. Moments later, Clarissa sauntered into the kitchen, all casual entitlement. "Hey, Ellie," she began, as if we were old chums, "I really need a favor." Her eyes, though attempting a friendly facade, held a glint of calculation. I braced myself. "What kind of favor?" I asked, a note of caution in my voice. "I need to borrow some cash," she said, almost dismissively. "Like $7,500. My jaw nearly dropped. $7,500? A small favor? "That's a significant amount, Clarissa," I said, trying to remain composed. "What for?" "Oh, please, it's only 7.5. You're a senior director, right? You must be rolling in it," she cajoled. The conversation felt surreal. She claimed it was for urgent condo repairs, but I recalled her recent boasts about her newly renovated Streeterville apartment. "Didn't you just tell me your place was perfect?" I probed. "Well, yes, but these are unforeseen repairs," she waved away. "Marcus said he'd spot me. Told me to ask you." Frustration boiled. Why had Marcus greenlit this without a word to me? We were partners. A cold wave of mistrust washed over me. Why did he decide this without me? I thought, but Clarissa's next words yanked me back. "Ellie, either you front me the money, or I'll have a little chat with your CEO about your commitment to Apex. Might suggest you're looking to step back." My heart stuttered. She was bluffing, surely, but the threat, however empty, was vile. "All right, Clarissa," I said, regaining my composure. "I'll lend you the money. One condition." Her face tightened. "What condition?" "We draw up a promissory note. Family or not, this needs to be documented," I stated. She hadn't expected that. Her eyebrows arched, but seeing no alternative, she grudgingly agreed. "Ugh, fine. Such a hassle. If you wire the money, I'll bring the signed note by tomorrow." Her displeasure was palpable. The next day, when she actually produced the signed document and a copy of her ID, I knew I'd done the right thing. Her reluctance only confirmed my suspicions. Her influence over Marcus was toxic. I later discovered the $7,500 went not to repairs, but to a vintage Chanel bag. Her audacity was astounding. After that first loan, the requests became more frequent, larger. Each time, I insisted on a new, notarized promissory note. By the end of that year, she'd borrowed a staggering $150,000. The situation was suffocating. Then, amidst this escalating madness, an unexpected call. My boss. Incredible news: I was being promoted to vice president of regional operations. This was it, the major leap I'd been working towards. Elated, I rushed home to share the news with Marcus. "I'm home, Marcus. You'll never guess." I burst in, beaming. Marcus, who'd taken a mental health day, smiled faintly. "Welcome home, Ellie. You look effervescent." "Good day." My boss called. Guess what he offered me? I gushed. This VP role wasn't just a job. It was the culmination of years of relentless effort. But Marcus's reaction was a splash of ice water. "Wait, what promotion are you getting, Ellie?" Not curiosity, but disbelief tinged his voice. His eyes held a strange mix of surprise and something darker. "Yes, I accepted the promotion," I confirmed. "Haven't I always talked about my career goals? This is huge for me." Marcus scowled. "You actually accepted? Shouldn't you have run that by me first?" His words were a punch to the gut. "Permission? But we've discussed my career aspirations countless times. I've always been clear I wouldn't abandon them. I've always said I want you to be a stay-at-home wife." Marcus seethed, his voice hardening. "How is it you keep leapfrogging everyone while I'm stuck in the same damn spot?" I froze. Was this jealousy? Was he more aggrieved by his own stagnation than my success? "That's not my fault, Marcus. I'm pursuing my dreams. I can't control your career path." His eyes flashed. I knew this wouldn't end well. Shortly after, I saw Marcus on his phone. 15 minutes later, the doorbell chimed, and in swept Clarissa, radiating her usual smug superiority. "Hey, I heard you snatch the promotion that was rightfully Marcus's, she announced, her voice dripping with accusation. I was stunned. Nobody snatched anything. Promotions are earned, Clarissa, not assigned via nepotism, I retorted. Are you implying Marcus isn't competent? She snapped, twisting my words. She glanced at Marcus for backup, and he, predictably, sided with her. My attempts at reason were futile. They began laughing, trading barbs at my expense. Then, they walked over to my purse, plucked out my Amex, and, ignoring my protests, sailed out the door. Their laughter echoed as they discussed their lavish evening plans. I stood in the silent condo, the betrayal a cold weight in my chest. Tears welled. In that moment, the illusion shattered. Marcus was not the man I thought I knew. I needed a divorce lawyer. Marcus didn't come home that night. The next morning at Apex, he approached my office with a smirk. You have no idea how epic last night was, he drawled. Nothing like whining and dining on someone else's dime. Thanks for the treat. He tossed a pile of receipts onto my desk. I stared. $2,000 for a steakhouse, followed by bar tabs from exclusive lounges, totaling over $125,000. My head swam with rage. This wasn't just any money. It was from my premarital investment accounts. Marcus, how could you? I exclaimed, my voice trembling. You blew nearly $130,000. That was my money, earned long before we married. Before I could finish, he started complaining about my nagging. When I reiterated that he'd decimated my personal savings, he was unfazed. So what? It's spent. Water under the bridge, he sneered, then retreated into his own office, leaving me aghast. That was the absolute final straw. The decision to divorce solidified, ironclad. Over the next few days, I consulted a top divorce attorney in the loop. Preparations moved swiftly, despite Marcus's behavior deteriorating further. He'd come home late, deliberately avoiding me, and leave before I woke. His coldness only reinforced my resolve. By the weekend, I was even mulling over hiring a PI. I needed to know his movements. Then, an unexpected call from Liam, Clarissa's husband. His voice was tight with an unfamiliar tension. Ellie? It's Liam. His tone was oddly formal. Liam, hi. Good to hear from you. Everything all right? I asked, puzzled. Listen, I was wondering, has Clarissa been with you much lately? He asked, concern lacing his words. No, Clarissa's not here. Why? My interest sharpened. It turned out Clarissa had been staying out late, disappearing on weekends, and being evasive. When Liam pressed her, she'd claimed to be with Marcus. The news hit me. Marcus and Clarissa's recent patterns were too synchronized. Could they really be? I decided to confide in Liam. You know, Liam, Marcus has been exhibiting the exact same behavior. But honestly, it's becoming a moot point for me. I'm initiating divorce proceedings, I replied, striving for a calm, detached tone. Liam, initially shocked by my composure, found his voice. Wow! Ellie, I've been contemplating divorce myself for months, but I couldn't pull the trigger, he admitted, sighing heavily. Liam, we have a common problem. And I've gathered significant evidence that could benefit us both. Perhaps we should leverage it and give these reckless siblings a lesson they won't soon forget, I suggested. A surprising sense of camaraderie bloomed. Liam seemed to feel it too. Yes, Ellie, let's do this together, he agreed, a new firmness in his voice. Then, he mentioned Clarissa had been pushing for a long vacation, and he'd noticed several Aspen travel brochures on their dresser. A light bulb went off. I immediately checked the antique secretaire in our study, a piece Marcus always kept locked. My suspicions deepened when I found maps of Colorado ski resorts and identical Aspen brochures. It all clicked. They were planning a trip, deceiving both of us. I called Liam immediately. Liam, they're definitely planning a trip. I just found the proof. This discovery only fueled my determination. When I outlined my counterplan to Liam, he actually chuckled, fully on board. We ended the call, agreeing to coordinate via encrypted texts. I sent him copies of the promissory notes and evidence of the lavish spending, which would be invaluable for his own divorce. We plotted meticulously. 3 weeks later, at dawn, Marcus slipped out of the condo, radiating a smug confidence that Liam had forewarned me about the previous night. A few hours after Marcus departed for his grand adventure, he called me from a familiar number, his voice oozing with triumph. He gloated about his impending luxurious vacation in Aspen with Clarissa and some friends, all funded, naturally, by my Amex. His arrogance was palpable. But I was ready. I smiled privately, playing along. "So, you're really using my card?" I asked, feigning mild surprise. Marcus, reveling in his perceived cunning, boasted that he and Clarissa had orchestrated this for ages, confident in my naivete. He even mentioned they had Liam as a fallback if things went awry, intending to teach me a lesson about being too trusting. His words were designed to humiliate. The whole charade was so pathetically transparent, I nearly laughed. I continued to probe, focusing on the card. "Are you sure you grabbed the right one?" I asked, savoring the impending reveal. Marcus, momentarily flustered, quickly confirmed he had my platinum card. That's when I calmly informed him my Amex was securely in my wallet. Silence. Then, confusion coloring his tone, he asked what card he'd used. With immense satisfaction, I told him he'd mistakenly taken my old Equinox gym membership card, same metallic sheen, nearly identical dimensions. I heard a sharp intake of breath. A moment later, as he presumably read Equinox Fitness Club, the penny dropped. His grand scheme, undone by a trivial, ludicrous mistake. Liam, on the muted conference line with me, erupted in laughter. Their opulent escape plan had crumbled to dust. Marcus, panicking, tried to deflect. It was Clarissa. Her idea. A pathetic attempt to evade blame. So you were so distraught last night you swapped my Amex for a gym card and didn't even bother to check it this morning? I mused. He blustered, but his confidence was shot. When he defiantly mentioned they had gifts for us upon their return, I inwardly smirked. Did he think trinkets could appease us? His bravado evaporated when I coolly stated I was only interested in monetary reimbursement. "What are you going to do now?" he asked, his voice shrinking. "Ellie, can you wire some money?" he pleaded, a desperate edge creeping in. Unmoved, I silently ended the call. My phone immediately lit up with missed calls and texts. I first pinged Liam to confirm our next steps, then answered Marcus's frantic call. His voice was laced with panic. Ellie, thank God. Please send money. It's freezing here. We're stranded." A sudden blizzard had hit Aspen, and the harsh Colorado cold was apparently quite motivating. "You mentioned Liam, didn't you?" I said, my voice dripping with irony. "Or is he not there with you?" "What do you know?" Marcus stammered. "Should I remind you," I explained patiently, "that you and Clarissa decided to team up with Liam? And I, in turn, did the same." Simple, really. The silence was deafening. Marcus now understood. Liam and I had outmaneuvered them. "Now you see why I kept you on the phone so long earlier?" I continued. "To buy time. And yes, Liam is currently on a flight back to Chicago. Different airline." Each word was a blow. Confident of their triumph, they were now marooned, freezing, and utterly humiliated. Once I got confirmation Liam was airborne, I delivered my parting shot. "We joined forces to teach you a lesson. Find your own way back. See you in Chicago." I ended the call and calmly dialed my lawyer. A few hours later, Marcus and a shivering, furious Clarissa stormed into the condo. "Ellie, what the hell?" Marcus began, ready for a fight. "Liam played you, didn't he?" Clarissa shrieked. "Why did he come back before us?" Before I could reply, Liam, standing beside me, spoke with quiet authority. "Apologize, Marcus. Both of you. Now sit down." They complied, stunned by Liam's steel. "Wait, is this a process server?" Marcus stammered, as my lawyer's associate handed him a thick envelope. Yes, Marcus, it is, I said. I want my half of the down payment for this condo, the $150,000. I want reimbursement for the $75,000 in mortgage payments I've made. And I want the $127,000 you two blew on your little night out. As for you, Clarissa, I turned to her, you'll be repaying the $150,000 you borrowed, as per the promissory notes. That's outrageous. Clarissa cried. Marcus bought this condo. I never borrowed that much. These are fabrications. I just shook my head. Clarissa, the notarized documents, which my lawyer has copies of, state otherwise. Without proof, it's hearsay, she spat. In a fit of pique, Marcus stomped on the digital voice recorder I'd left on the coffee table, and Clarissa dramatically ripped up the copy of the settlement offer. Marcus, you can destroy that recorder. The audio is backed up to the cloud. And Clarissa, that was a copy. The originals are secure, I explained. They stared, aghast. Oops, I added. I also have a claim for emotional distress and the funds you embezzled. Not to mention your little Aspen adventure. Tears of frustration and defeat streamed down their faces. The financial settlement was non-negotiable. Marcus owed $375,000, covering the down payment, mortgage contributions, and his profligate spending. Clarissa was liable for the $150,000 from the promissory notes. Liam pursued his own claims separately, but their shared recklessness had far-reaching consequences. Our lawyer had astutely included a clause stipulating that any attempt on their part to countersue would be meritless and likely result in further penalties. We avoided court. I packed my essentials and moved out of the Lincoln Park condo. Word of the debacle reached apex, and Marcus was quietly transferred to a remote branch office. Soon after, a text from him. Ellie, I miss you. Life is empty. Can we try again? My reply was unequivocal, no. Goodbye. Then Clarissa, Ellie, think of Marcus. Maybe we could all live together? A fresh start. My response, absolutely not, Clarissa. Goodbye. I blocked both their numbers. Liam received similar overtures and ignored them. One day, taking a lift through Lincoln Park, I saw a for sale sign outside our old condo. With the settlement paid and communications severed, it was a definitive end. I had no idea, nor did I care, how Marcus and Clarissa were faring. I was thriving. I'd bought a stunning penthouse in the Gold Coast. Work was incredible. I'd just been promoted to regional president. Liam and I had grown closer, an easy camaraderie blossoming into something more. We'd been on several dates, discovering a surprising compatibility. Life post-divorce was a significant upgrade. As for what happened next between Liam and me, well, that's another story.